There's like almost no worse feeling than wanting and loving your baby, but knowing that the life that they're going to have is so traumatic and painful and horrible. And now I can't even find a medical professional to help me.
Our TFMR stories, pregnancy loss support in the heartbreak of terminating a wanted pregnancy. I'm Sabrina. I'm a TFMR loss mom to my daughter, Clara, for hydrops, cystic hygroma, potential chromosomal defects, and my own health. My decision was for all of those factors and more. And now I help other TFMR parents in their darkest hour, parenting through the impossible. If you're listening to this, you found me, and that means you're not alone anymore. You can talk to someone about this. Email me or book a call. I've been through it too, and I want to hear from you. Welcome to another episode of our TFMR stories. I'm Sabrina Fletcher, TFMR doula, and today we have Morgan Meaut with us. She's been pregnant 6 times and has 1 living child. She's coming on today to share her TFMR story. She had to have a TFMR for a rare genetic condition, 8p inverted duplication deletion syndrome on the 23rd chromosome. So thank you so much, Morgan, for coming to share your story with us.
Yeah, thank you, Sabrina. I know that was a mouthful, but you said it perfectly. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on today and allowing me to share my story. And thank you to all of the advocacy work that you do in this space. Because for the last 8 months, I've just been eagerly looking for anyone out there that can have words of wisdom in this space. And honestly, you've been a big part of that. So thank you for helping women like me.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Morgan. Thanks for being part of the community and coming on to pay it back and share your story, because these are the stories that sustain us, that hold up a light, show us you can make it through too. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to start with a question taking you back to a special memory from your pregnancy, your favorite memory that you remember. It can even be after, the connections continue, but whatever you'd like to share with us.
No, I love that you always ask this question, because I think it's important that we do kind of reflect and remember on happy memories, because the negative ones can oftentimes outshadow things. But my favorite memory is actually Father's Day of last year, so about a year ago. It was Father's Day when my husband and I were standing in the kitchen, and I got the email that ironically, our genetic results were available, which of course was telling us the sex of the baby. So my husband comes from a long line of lots of boys, lots of males in his family. And so I always assumed I would just have boys. I do have 1 living child who is a boy, and we just assumed with the second pregnancy we would have another boy. And then when I pulled the results up on my phone and it said girl, I could not even believe it, and literally jumped into my husband's arms, and we were both absolutely elated to be having a little girl. And later on that evening, we went to dinner with my family. We shared the news to everyone that we were expecting and having a little girl. And my son wore like a little, big brother shirt. So that's probably my favorite memory. And I cling to that memory often.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Your little girl. And she always is your little girl.
She is, yes.
Yeah. Did you get the news in those results, or was there further testing that came back when you found out that there was a rare genetic condition? How did that diagnosis happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the genetic testing that we did, I don't know why the name is slipping my mind. It's the standard genetic testing that most doctors do at 10, 12, 14 weeks. It all came back completely normal.
Is it NIPT?
NIPT, yeah. So that test
it's like a screening. Mm-hmm.
So it just tests for I want to say maybe the top 10 or 15 chromosomal deficiencies. So trisomy 21, 13, 17, and several others. Colin's genetic condition is extremely rare and was not something that was tested on NIPT. So again, we got the results and it said low risk for everything. You're having a girl, and we were just completely oblivious that anything else could have been going on. So I had a very, very normal, uneventful, healthy pregnancy until my anatomy scan, which is when we found out that things were going wrong.
Oh, so at the anatomy scan, they were seeing markers or something not looking right. And then did you do further testing, or how about you tell that part of your story?
My anatomy scan showed that she had severe swelling in her brain. It's called ventriculomegaly. It's when the ventricles in your brain are swollen. And immediately they said, you have to go to a high-risk doctor like tomorrow. It was extremely a severe case. And so at the MFM the very next day, they also found that she had a single artery umbilical cord, which is typically not anything to be worried about. But because she had that in conjunction with the ventriculomegaly, they said to us, most likely she is going to have a genetic abnormality. And so they recommended that we do the amniocentesis, which we did that day. But that essentially, that MFM appointment started what I refer to as like my 4 weeks living in hell. For the 4 weeks after that, from anatomy scan or first MFM appointment, for the next 4 weeks, we literally went and saw every specialist you can imagine. I mean, living in doctor's offices, and with each and every passing day, we continued to get more and more bad news. We were like clinging to hope, but it just was a spiral effect with the bad news. I had like an MRI done of Colin's brain while she was in utero, which told us that she was also missing her corpus callosum. There was a multitude of brain anomalies that were going on. And so I think it was 2 weeks after my amniocentesis, we were told, yes, your daughter does have a genetic condition. There is chromosomally something wrong with her, but we just couldn't tell you exactly what it is. And then it was another 2 weeks after that we got the microarray results that confirmed that she was essentially worst case scenario. So she had a deletion, a duplication, and an inversion on the 23rd leg of her 8th chromosome, which again, I'm getting medically, those things don't matter. But basically during those 4 weeks, again, 4 weeks living in hell is what I call it, I became completely obsessed with researching. I would go and meet with a specialist or a doctor, and they would just speak in medical terms, which of course I didn't understand. I'm not a doctor. And so I would either, be taking notes on my phone or writing things down, and I would go home and I would obsessively research everything related to a missing corpus callosum or the ventriculomegaly or whatever it may be, because the MFM just kept telling me, this is not good. You're at probably worst case scenario. You just need to go ahead and move forward with a termination. And I don't take that lightly. And I did not feel comfortable doing anything without having as much information as possible. And I kept asking every doctor, what does Colin's life look like if she comes into this world? I needed specifics. I needed someone to paint me a picture. And unfortunately, no one could answer that for me. And so it was my job as her mom to try and paint that picture based on whatever information I could find. So I started joining different, there is a wide range of chromosomal abnormalities, but 8p is one that's kind of an umbrella, if you will. And so I started talking with parents really all across the world that had children with genetic abnormalities in the 8p world, if you will, and asking them questions. What does your day-to-day look like? What are things that your child struggles with? What are challenges that they're facing? And just trying to collect as much data as I could. I think I drove myself a little bit crazy doing that, but it's what I needed at the time. And keep in mind during all of this, though, like I'm still a working mom. So I'm still trying to show up for my son, who was 2 at the time, and go to work every day. I'm in IT sales and I have a pretty demanding job. So I was essentially like not sleeping for 4 weeks. I was being mom, being a wife, doing my job, and then obsessively at night researching as much as I possibly could, talking with parents, emailing doctors, and doing all the things. Because I think part of the reason for my obsession was that every specialist continued to tell us Collins may come into this world and be okay. She may need, special help in school. She may need a wheelchair. She might need special therapies, but there's a chance that she might be okay. And then there's also a chance that she may be on the worst case scenario side of the spectrum and may be unable to walk, talk, go to the bathroom on her own, or ever be independent. So we were not sure which side of the pendulum she was going to end up on. The only thing that could really determine that was the microarray, which was the final results from the amniocentesis, which unfortunately took 4 weeks to come back, which you can imagine, like when you're 20 weeks pregnant or 24 weeks pregnant, 4 weeks is an eternity, especially when you live in a state like mine. So I live in North Atlanta, so I live in Georgia. And the abortion laws here are extremely strict. We have a 6-week abortion ban, I believe. And the exceptions for severe medical cases like mine are very, very, very vague and very, very gray. And because of that, doctors do not want to risk getting their license revoked or going to jail. And so it's very hard in my state to get medical help when you're in these situations.
Before we continue, I want to take a moment to share something with you. TFMR is the heartbreak that feels like no one gets, the guilt and sacrifice and love and horror rolled into one. The what the hell just happened? Yes, that. I know that place intimately. I've walked through this fire too, with my second, very wanted, very loved baby that was sick in pregnancy. Having to make this choice, I'm holding up big quotations here, broke something in me, and I found a way to knit those pieces back together and walk and love in the world again, bringing my baby's spirit with me, not as an aside, a front and center, because this is statistically the worst thing you've ever been through in your life, and that deserves so much care. The loss of a baby, a child, dreams, hopes, and you have your hand in it. And what does that even mean? Here we answer those questions that no one else will touch. Here we give you the tools and next steps to get the care and holding you deserve as mother, as father, as parent. This is happening in the TFMR Support Sanctuary, our monthly support groups and community. Join us for $55 a month with live circles, healing audio and video transmissions specifically for this type of baby loss. You can find us at the tfmrdoula.com/join. Link will be in the show notes. Okay, let's get back to our conversation.
And so my MFM, again, continued to encourage me to go out of state to find another provider in either Colorado or Washington, D.C. to do the procedure. But that, of course, would require me to leave my son for like a week, for like 5 whole days. And during this time, again, my 4 weeks in hell, the only thing that was even giving me an ounce of hope to just get out of bed in the morning was my 2-year-old son. And so the idea of leaving him for 5 weeks was very, very, very painful. And so in addition to researching everything, relating to Colin's diagnosis and disabilities and whatnot, I also was simultaneously researching and figuring out if we do choose to move forward, with ending this pregnancy, how do I logistically figure that out? That was, I mean, almost like a part-time job for me. And at one point, I'll never forget this one afternoon, I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I have just notes scattered all over the table. And I am like at a point of just desperation, calling doctor after doctor. And like my MFM would give me a list of people that she kind of knew and was like, I knew this person back in the day, call them and see if they'll help you, kind of thing. I mean, I kid you not, this may sound dramatic, but I felt like I was like the Underground Railroad of trying to figure out how to get an abortion at 24 weeks pregnant for a baby that I so desperately loved and wanted. Like, there's like almost no worse feeling than wanting and loving your baby, but knowing that the life that they're going to have is so traumatic and painful and horrible. And now I can't even find a medical professional to help me. I mean, I'm calling people on their landline or on their cell phone because they won't even answer the office phone and have this conversation over the phone. Yeah, it was traumatic and I mean, to say the least. And so thankfully, I spoke with like the right person on the right day at the right time. And she said, we're going to help you. So let me backtrack a little bit. Ultimately, we found out, I don't know if I mentioned this, I apologize. The amniocentesis, that final piece of information that we were waiting for, came back and basically said that Collins was absolute worst case scenario. So she had the duplication, the deletion, and the inversion. And the size of her duplication was incredibly large. And there's actually like no other medical journals published that showed somebody with the duplication of this size. And so what in turn that means is that we knew 100% without a doubt that Collins would never be able to walk, talk, eat. She would need a feeding tube. She would be in adult diapers her whole life. She would never be able to live independently. Maybe the most she could do would be opening her eyes and breathing. And so when you're given that information, the first thing I think of is who is going to take care of her when my husband and I are gone? If she were to even live, right? We don't know the lifespan. I mean, but if she did live to be 30, 40, 50 years old, who's going to take care of her? Because I didn't want that responsibility to fall on my son, Palmer. And then I just started thinking about what does a day for Collins look like? She would never be able to run in the yard with her brother. She would never be able to go to a school dance. She would never be able to ride a bike. I mean, just the basic things. And so we, made the decision that day that it was best for her to live pain-free in heaven with Jesus. And my husband and I said we are willing to take on the pain and the burden of missing her each and every day if it means that she doesn't have to suffer here on this earth. So then, of course, came, okay, how are we going to do this? I mean, I was a literal like ticking time bomb at this point. I think that we got the microarray results back when I was 23 weeks, 3 days, 23 weeks, 4 days, maybe. And so I had hours, a couple of days left to potentially maybe find a doctor to do it in the state of Georgia. But I was told by multiple people, there is no way that you're going to get approved to have this procedure done in Georgia. And I was just determined. I just literally would not stop. I advocated harder for myself than I ever have in my whole life. And I refused to take no for an answer. I needed medical help and I was not willing to suck it up and to travel 10, 12 hours away to go do this. I wanted to be at home. I wanted to be near my son. And I advocated harder than I ever have. And again, it was almost like a God thing. Like I spoke with the right person on the right day. I won't disclose her name or information, but She got my medical records and presented my case to a board of doctors, somewhere at the state level. I don't know where these people exist, but a board of doctors reviewed my case, and we made a strong enough argument that Colin's life was essentially not worth living, and they approved me. And literally, it was like within 12 hours, I was going to an abortion clinic to have the procedure done. And that in itself is extremely traumatic. Going to an abortion clinic when you're 24 weeks pregnant and there's protesters in the parking lot screaming at you. And my husband was not allowed to go in, so I had to go in all by myself. It was a 2-day procedure. I essentially went in the very next morning, and they kind of started to like dilate my cervix, and then had to return the following morning for the actual procedure. And again, I had to do it all on my own. And I think I ended up having to wait for, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 hours, like in a hallway, basically, like with an IV hooked up to like a coat hanger. I mean, it was so, I felt like I was living in a movie. Like it truly was so surreal. And again, I could hear, it's an old building. The walls were thin. I could hear from in the hallway I was sitting in, I could hear the protesters still out in the parking lot because they bring in these giant amps and microphones and they're screaming horrific things. I just had to put my AirPods in and listen to my worship music and just know that like God was with me in that moment. It was just salt in the wound too, to be that pregnant, 24 weeks pregnant. I was showing like I was so big, and Collins was so active all the time. Every single scan I had, the doctors would comment about how active she was. She was constantly kicking and doing somersaults in my belly, and just sitting in a hallway all by yourself, and your baby who you love more than anything and just want to hold and love and mother to is, it's almost like it felt like in that moment, maybe was she trying to say to me like, Mommy, I'm okay. I mean, I don't know, but that moment will stick with me forever. PTSD for sure. But ultimately, the doctors that took care of me that day, I'm eternally grateful to. They gave me as much love and compassion as they could with the resources that they had. And I'm very, very thankful to them.
Thank you so much, love, for listening, for being part of this community, for bravely taking this time for you. If you've been craving the kind of holding we've been talking about here, I would love to have a conversation with you. Schedule your Connect chat at the tfmrdoula.com/schedule-call. And that link will be in the show notes as well. Come find me. I'm here. I'm here for you.